You know, some of the most terrifying stories don't start in a haunted mansion or a creepy abandoned asylum. They start in the most ordinary places. A small village, a quiet pond, a simple nightly habit between friends. But sometimes, in that quiet, something is waiting.
Those are the chilling words of a man looking back on a single night that completely changed his life forever. A night that proves some warnings, well, they should never ever be ignored.
Okay, so let's dive into this. It all begins with something completely normal, almost mundane. It's about an unbreakable nightly habit shared between three very close friends.
So, picture this. We're in a small, tight-knit village in Rajasthan, India. You know the type. It has its daily routines, its familiar landmarks, and of course, its hidden secrets. And right at the heart of our story are three young men who thought they knew every single inch of their world.
So let's meet our guys, Romit, Yoshik, and Mitesh. These three were best friends, basically since they could walk. And every single night, without fail, after dinner, they'd meet up and take a walk down to the village pond. It was just their thing, you know? A way to unwind, talk about whatever, and just get away from it all.
Now here's where things get interesting. For the boys, the pond was just their hangout spot. But for the village elders, it was something else entirely. They would warn people, stay away from there after dark. They whispered stories of strange rituals, even black magic, being performed in its most secluded corners. But of course, being young and, feeling invincible, the friends just laughed it off. Just silly old superstitions, right? And that brings us to one very specific night. An Amavasya, which is a new moon night. It's literally the darkest night of the month, a time when it's said the veil between our world and others is at its absolute thinnest. That very evening, Romit's mother pleaded with him not to go. She told him she'd been having these awful, recurring nightmares about a terrifying, inhuman man who was hunting their family. You know, a mother's intuition is an incredibly powerful thing, but for a teenager just eager to meet his friends, it was just another worry to brush aside.
So yeah, despite her pleas, Romit met up with Yoshik and Mitesh. And the plan for the night? Oh, the irony is just, it's almost painful. Mitesh had just downloaded a new horror movie on his phone. So here they are, walking to the one place they were warned about on the darkest night of the month to watch a horror movie. Seriously, what could possibly go wrong?
As they were walking down that narrow path to the pond, Romit's foot suddenly hits something soft. He looks down and sees a small bundle, what's called a potli, wrapped in red cloth. Instead of just, leaving it alone, he lets this careless curiosity get the better of him. He nudged it again with his foot, and that's when the knot comes undone.
And spilling out of this bundle were lemons, stained a deep blood red with sindoor powder and pierced with dozens of sharp needles. Next to them, a thick clump of human hair and a piece of raw, unidentifiable flesh. It was so obviously the leftovers of some dark ritual. Romit, disgusted and honestly just angry that someone would leave this on the path, just kicks the items away, scattering them into the darkness. His friends yelled at him to stop, but it was too late. The damage had been done.
They tried their best to shake off that creepy discovery and kept walking to the pond. They found their spot, settled down, started the movie, and for maybe 20 minutes or so, everything felt normal again. And then, a sound cut right through the night.
Duck, duck, duck. It was the steady, rhythmic chopping sound, and it was coming from near an old tree just up ahead of them. I mean, who in their right mind would be chopping wood in the pitch black of a new moon night?
They immediately paused the movie, and the second they did, the chopping stopped. It was completely pitch black out there, no streetlights, nothing. So all three of them turn on their phone flashlights and aim the beams right towards that tree.
And there he was. Caught right in their flashlight beams was a man, but he was off. Unnaturally tall, maybe 6 feet, and really thin. He was dressed all in black, and his skin was so dark he nearly vanished into the shadows around him. He wasn't doing anything, he was just standing there, staring.
Romit, trying to be brave, calls out, "Who are you? What do you want?" The man doesn't say a word. Instead, his lips peel back into this horrifying smile. It wasn't a real smile. It was all teeth, just wide and unnatural, with absolutely no warmth, no humanity in it at all.
Yoshik, completely freaked out, stands up to confront him, but before he could even take a single step, the man moved. He didn't run, he didn't walk. It was just a blur, too fast for your eyes to even track. 1 second he was over there by the tree, and the next, he was just there, standing directly in front of them. The three of them just screamed and ran for their lives, not even daring to look back.
They made a pact right then and there not to tell their parents, scared they'd be banned from their walks forever. They honestly thought the terror was over, that they'd gotten away. But they were so wrong. You see, they hadn't escaped it. Romit had brought it home with him.
And the ordeal began that very same night. Look at this timeline. Night 1. Romit jolts awake at 3 a.m., and the man from the pond is right there, in the corner of his room. It attacks him, tries to choke him, and leaves him with a raging fever. Night 2, the same exact thing happens. The entity is back. Can you even imagine that level of terror? In desperation, he starts reciting the Hanuman Chalisa, a really powerful Hindu prayer for protection. And believe it or not, for the next 8 nights, it works. He's safe. But then, we get to that final night. He's starting to feel like the danger is past. He gets a little complacent. He forgets to pray. And the attack that night was the most brutal of them all. Romit said it felt like his hair was being physically ripped from his scalp. When his parents heard the commotion and burst into the room, his bed was soaked in blood. That was it. The secret was out. Terrified, his friends finally confessed everything to Romit's parents. The warnings, the Potli, the man at the pond, the whole story.
With the truth finally out in the open, they all knew they were dealing with something far beyond their control, beyond their understanding. So, early the very next morning, they went to see a holy man, a Babaji, who lived just on the outskirts of the village.
After he heard the whole terrifying story, the Babaji laid out a 4-step remedy. First, he chanted mantras and tied a blessed protection thread, a Raksha Sutra, around Romit's wrist. Second, he gave them a sacred coconut to hang on the main doorframe of their house, to act as a sort of spiritual shield. Third, they had to sprinkle holy water in every single corner of the home to cleanse it of the negative energy. And finally, after exactly 40 days, they had to take that coconut and submerge it deep in a well, far away from the village, to sever the entity's connection for good.
They followed every single one of his instructions, down to the very last letter. And you know what? The haunting stopped. The entity never appeared to roam it again. But the story doesn't just end there with a happily ever after, because an encounter like that, it leaves a permanent scar.
Years have passed since that night. Romit is an adult now. He has a job in a nearby city. But the pure terror of those nights, it never really left him. To this day, he absolutely refuses to travel after dark. That carefree young man who laughed at superstitions is gone, replaced by someone who understands, firsthand, that some shadows are very real. The entity might be gone, but the fear it left behind is its own special kind of haunting.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's a chilling warning. These ritual items, these potlis, they're often put there for a very specific and usually very dark reason. To kick one, to mess with it, is to interfere with forces you can't possibly comprehend. So be careful in desolate places, especially after dark. And if you see something strange on a path, just walk away. Do not touch it. You just never know what you might be kicking aside, or what you might be inviting to follow you all the way home.
Romit's story is just a terrifying reminder that a moment of careless curiosity can have absolutely devastating consequences. He kicked a little bundle on a path and unleashed a nightmare that almost destroyed him. So, after hearing all this, you really have to ask yourself, would you have just walked past it?